Hello, friends, and welcome to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division for a brand new season. We got two competitors here to show what we're all about. Super excited to be on the microphone alongside Alls on Color. How you feeling tonight, my man?
Man, it's great to be here. This is my first time casting here at Blue Outer League. In an official capacity, I did sub once before, but it's great to be on the mic here after a beautiful Masters match last night, courtesy of Shibi and Yanni. It's going to be great to see what the Platinum teams have to offer here, and we've certainly got two fascinating ones with CB, Heist, and pardon me, Dorado Iota here, looking to square off here in week one and really make their mark in the Plat League.
Yeah, very excited that we have CB, one of the teams that I think is kind of the herald of Blue Otter League, a consistent competitor across multiple divisions, facing off against Dorado Gaming, who themselves have quite the pedigree here in BOL and beyond. Super excited to see what they're going to do in this first round of drafts. Now, I know we've been doing a little bit of recon on CB Heist's side. Solo queue's not been going super well for them, but now they are on the Rift as 5, and I hope that they can make a statement. They're starting off on Blue's side with their first ban on the horizon.
Yeah, and they say that solo queue is a bit of a determiner for these players. Of course, we have to categorize them somehow in terms of their abilities, but it's very different being on the Rift as 5 in comms versus being alone in solo queue and having to fight against not only the enemy team, but your own team. So despite seeing some pretty rough loss streaks on some of these players, I'm excited to see what they can bring out as a 5 stack here, and to see, more importantly, what Dorado is scared of from this lineup.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that it's a matter of me getting a sense of where we are in the meta right now. Obviously, I feel that in Platinum, things are a bit more flexible than what you see in the very highest of elos, but still, a lot of these players know what's good, they know what to prioritize, and therefore, we're seeing some denials that make a lot of sense. Xerath and the Gragas knocked out by CB Heist to start us off, while DOG Iota have decided to jump ahead of the gun and take out that Rel.
Yeah, I mean, Rel is far and away the most played champ by AFK Boulder. 21 games since the start of the split with a 67% win rate. Winning 2 out of 3 is pretty darn good, especially on a champion like Rel that requires the rest of your team to be willing and able to follow up on you in solo queue. So taking that away, very important for Iota here, not having that option. I'm a little bit surprised to see the Rek'Sai come out though. That has been played a fair bit by Extinction, but it's not the champion I'd be most afraid of in this lineup. I think that at this elo, when you can start pairing it up, if you go well on a hands champ, the Lilia or the Kha'Zix would be a little bit scarier here.
Gotta respect the reg side. Gotta respect the Yone. CB Heist gonna deny that. And I think that's a really smart call here. Yone somewhat flexible into the top lane for Yushu Yoshu, who I believe even has a Yone icon for themselves. But also, you gotta look at what Dorado are packing in their solo lanes in general. Emerald and Diamond. This doesn't even feel like a plat lobby.
It's flexibly flat. You know, with the new ranked update, it's been hard for these organizations to be able to kind of balance where Plat is nowadays. So a lot of these Emerald players are the folks that were solidly Plat 1, Plat 2 in the past. So, well, it's a different coat of paint. I think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of the same gameplay. CB Heist with the first pick here. We've seen some changes in prioritization recently, and they're taking it to the very last second to lock in this Ash first for Yoey in the bot lane.
Never been a big fan of Ash on blue side, particularly on that first pick. Not really sure what CB is going to go for, but we do know that this bot lane is probably going to be a bit de-emphasized unless this is actually going to be an Ash support angle and they're looking to go flexy early.
Well, it is the most played champion for Yoey here and does have a 67% win rate. However, with only a 2.85 KDA, I'm a little bit concerned that this is going to be fairly vulnerable. It's not going to be effective. As you said, it's going to be a very defensive lane here, especially with something like the Maokai on the table, which has really good gank setup. Even before level 6, with the Twisted Advance, with the Bramble Smash, can really help lock down an immobile ADC like Ashe. CB Heist is going to have to play this bot lane very, very carefully, and I would expect some strong disengage to come out of this support.
very easy for 17 to actually pick this Maokai up in the support slot, and now you're going to have the ability to go for another big engager in the hands of K-Peps. That just opens up so many possibilities for DOG to play off of. It does look like Dorado, though, themselves are going to go for a relatively avoidant bot lane. Corey JJ grabbing the Ezreal still has some flex potential, actually. I think that this champion, whenever it kind of spikes up into other roles, immediately gets tamped down by Riot, but there's a reason why we always revisit, Ezreal mid and weird stuff like that. I think it's viable for a lot longer of a period than people expected. Right now, I actually think it's quite good. We'll see if Tough Daddy's going to go for that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Ezreal does get really strong as soon as you hit that scene. So there's plenty of window for this bot lane of Dorado to be aggressive fairly early. In the meantime, though, with the Sejuani picked up, looks like Extinction is going to want to get on the map fairly early themselves, get some of that high gank power out and on the map. Maybe not in this bot lane, but there's plenty of chances for Corito and Krama here to pick up some champions that'll really take advantage of getting ahead early.
The Milio coming out makes a lot of sense with the Q being empowered nowadays. I think that you're able to have a little bit more presence in lane. I still wouldn't use it offensively, God no, especially not into an Ezreal. But fact of the matter is, CB Heist will be able to deter something like an aggressive Maokai approach and Sejuani as well. If they're going to be hovering the bot lane, I think will shore up their priority and counterpart in the form of that Ashe. So while I'm still a little bit concerned about where the damage is coming from on CB Heist's side, certainly this Ashe is a little bit safer coming out of these first three picks.
Now, I have noticed something in your comments, and this just proves that you were acting as if that Maokai was locked in the support role, but I was a little bit concerned that it was going in the jungle, and with the Rakan here for Iota, that is confirmed. Now, that is a little bit easier for the Milio to counter with the Ultra Mega Fire Kick, but having the Maokai able to affect other lanes, which it can do so easily here, I think is a little bit more powerful. How do you feel about this Rakan, though? Oh, we do appear to have lost Nyarko here. Hopefully he comes back. In the meantime, though, I guess it'll just be me and my lovely voice bringing y'all through here. Personally, I'm a little bit worried about the Rakan. I liked, especially when the Milio came up to flex into the Maokai, simply because of the ability to avoid the disengage from the Milio. Allows them to lock down that Ashe early. However, we'll have to see. It's entirely possible that 17 can just outplay too well. In the meantime, though, with both solo lanes left to be picked from both sides, the bans are coming out. Jax, of course, has been so dominant recently, as with the Ezreal. Once you get that Sheen, just being able to take over the map, being able to become either a split pusher or a team fight dominator without any real problems. Similarly, Syndra able to scale up pretty easily. However, it seems like Dog is very, very scared of Krama in this top side, as both of those second wave bans are being targeted towards them. And of course, that is the two most played champions. That Aatrox, pretty scary looking 37 games, 57% win rate, so not surprising that's taken out of their hands. However, this does leave plenty of champions open for Corrido. They appear to have a pretty deep, pretty wide pool here, and a lot of these champions would go pretty well in this zone control team comp that they have created. The Anivia, the Victor, even the Silas and Ari all looking great into this comp, and into the very poke-oriented, not heavy engage comp that tends to be built around Ezreal. However, the Ornn being picked up here does give plenty of frontline and engage for Dorado Iota, and is one of the more successful champions in UCOC's arsenal here, sitting at a 58% win rate, even in solo queue. And we know how hard that is. So looking good here. A nice rounded comp for Iota. The only problem right now is they don't have a ton of damage in that comp. They're going to need something really aggressive here for Tough Daddy. And a lot of the champions that they like to play have been banned out already. The Xerath, the Yone, and the Gragas all taken off the table, as we see the perennial Ornn counterpick picked up here for Heist with that Gwen. Having all that true damage on the Snip Snip is just great for tearing through a champion with so many innate resistances, and the Swain to round out the comp. This is just so much zone control. You cannot fight into this team unless you can get great picks. That's going to shut down a lot of the engage that Iota has, especially from long range, with the quickness, with the Call of the Forge God, with the Nature's Grasp. It's going to be very difficult for Iota to find those engages. So a lot hinges on this last pick here. Where is Iota going to shape this team? Is it all going to be on the Ezreal here? I certainly hope not, as Gangplank comes out to round out this comp. Now, Gangplank, just so powerful no matter what you do. Of course, with the barrels, with the 40% armor shred, can just delete even the tankiest members, even that Sejuani not going to be able to survive for too long in the face of this Gangplank. However, I'm so concerned that this damage spread isn't great. There's not enough to be able to cut through if that Gangplank doesn't die. So we're going to have to see what happens here from Iota. On the other side, CB Heist, looking with a very well-rounded comp with great zone control, is going to be looking to play this game slow, scale up, and really take over this in the long haul. However, with my co-caster missing and with my producer screaming in my ear to try and help him fix it, we're going to send it to a quick break, but when we come back, CB Heist and Dorado Iota looking to make their mark on this Plat League early and powerfully in this first week. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to be right back.
Let the dancing begin. Well, I didn't see that coming.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division for game number 1 of week number 1. We got CB Heist, we got Dorado Gaming as well, facing off, taking to what is going to be a pretty standard 5-point to start us off for what should hopefully not be a pretty standard season. As we see, there's a lot of rank variation here in Platinum League, and this is the time I think for a lot of these players, especially Tough Daddy, sitting all the way there at Diamond 4 to really prove their mettle.
Yeah, those Diamond Exception players in these Plat leagues really need to prove their stuff, really need to carry their teams, because you can only have one of them, so they're so important as we look at the spread. Though I do want to call attention, because this is 2 nights in a row that we've seen a player forget to buy items level 1. AFK
Oh,
Boulder sitting there on the Milio with nothing.
and it's really bad for the support to be in this position. You don't really have the ability to back at this point in the game, so they're just going to have to raw dog it in lane, not leveling up their support item. And in a game like this, where you're going to see a lot of coordination, not being able to control vision is heartbreak so early. I wonder what happened.
It must have just been a little bit of miscommunication, or perhaps these players just a little bit too excited to be out here. It's the first night of BOL, Nyarko. Everybody's hyped.
Yeah, very, very odd though. At the same time, AFK Boulder, has been playing a lot of solo queue. We've been talking about the solo queue exploits of CB quite a bit already during this broadcast. So you would think that they'd have that muscle memory locked in, but this is so tough. And this is the time for 17 to get on in. Corey JJ hitting tab once, probably seeing already this Milio. Not going to have that much presence in this lane, but Rakan was also a bit too early on the draw and took a pretty rough trade versus Yoi.
Yeah, you don't need a ton of presence when you can just press that W, I believe, and just give Yoi the extra attack range, really let him trade well on the way out of that fight. I mean, that's half of 17's health already taken. That's a pot down. Going to likely have to pop some of these cookies early as well. So even without items on Boulder, still the Pebble doing quite a bit.
You would hope that Corey JJ and 17 aren't too torn up about losing that potion early. The Rakan is probably looking to just burst after a long period of staying behind, waiting to see whether or not Corey JJ can land their Mystic shots. Because if you get into a position where all you got to do is double W in and get a knock up, I still do think that you're able to make quite the impact on a lane like this, and you can still exploit AFK Boulder, who's in a rough position. Now, what we do see across the rest of the map is about what's expected. Krama getting good wave control early on Gwen. That is not typically a luxury that is afforded to such a late game oriented champion, but this time around they're up against Yushu Yoshi on the Ornn, and so they're very happy with their tank busting abilities and what they're going to be able to do even early on in this game. So I'm looking to see whether or not Extinction actually uses the influence that currently that blue hair champion has up on top side for blue side to make something happen. Corrido similarly is really getting a good push advantage early on in this one, but Tough Daddy holding their own on the CS department. That's something that the Swain will need to try to tamp down upon if they don't want to be one-shot late game.
Yeah, but this is a perfect chance for Extinction to get in there and make use of the early gank presence of the Sejuani, especially with something with his great setup as the Swain. You can really bait out those oranges early, put Tough Daddy in a very rough position and make it incredibly easy to gank. Unfortunately, they don't have eyes on K-Pep, so that doesn't seem to matter as Extinction is moving right in.
Yeah, good wrap around here. This is the attention I was looking to see out of Dorado early onto this bot lane, and Boulder, very little player to go. Knocked back by the Bramble Smash, but the Ignite taken away on them. They almost fall, but luckily their Cozy Campfire will keep them alive, and now Corey JJ's in a lot of trouble. Yoey doesn't have the flash available to follow up, but it doesn't matter. Corey turns around one more time to try to secure a trade, but the Ashe just slinks back to the tier 1 tower. Now on the cross map, Extinction is turning things around in favor of Krama and company, but they can't quite get the tower dive off. Ornn so tanky even early on, keeping things at a 1-for-0 in favor of CB.
Well, Nyarko, you don't need items when you're just too good here. Boulder managing to bait in everybody on this Dorado Iota roster, feeding an early kill to Yoey. Yes, they had to burn all 4 summoner spells, but they got 3 flashes out of that. K-Peps, Corey, and a 17, plus the Ignite out of the Rakan as well. And on the top side, Yushu forced to use his flash and teleport as well. Did get Krama a little bit close there, but the Gwen able to slink away. I mean, right now, the map pressure is squarely in favor of this CB squad.
I would say that this game was basically defined by this early play if Krama was able to pull off a kill versus Yushu Yoshi. But honestly, a single death on the on the Ezreal right now, I don't think is the biggest deal in the world. What's more compelling to me is the fact that Yoey just has quite the CS advantage, and once again, advantage over the wave because of the awkward back timing that Corey JJ was forced into. CB are able to exploit this Ashe and I think grow its power a lot more than what I was expecting out of this early game. And, you know, maybe this pick actually does have legs, particularly in the hands of a well-seasoned player of the Ashe. So Yoey definitely gets my credits early in this one. We'll see whether or not post the 6-minute mark, if they're going to be able to translate this into, say, a dragon or something like that. Rakan actually first mover advantage over to that river just to ensure that Red Squad has some vision.
Yeah, good nose for trouble there by Corrido. Saw that Tough Daddy was playing it a little bit strangely. He decided to go ahead, take the back, and walk back to lane. So there's no chance that 17 can really get in there and find a cheeky little gank onto the Swain, really get Tough Daddy accelerated. But as you mentioned earlier, that gangplank's only going to get stronger and stronger. So we do need to see this CB squad take advantage of this early pressure. Right now, Extinction's on the top side. The Drake is up, you have pressure. It feels like a wasted opportunity to not be down there, getting those wards, getting that pressure, and getting that early Drake to start stacking.
I would tend to agree on that front. That being said, neither of the junglers are level 6 right now, and I don't think that K-Peps is actually super incentivized to try to go for such an early Dragon Rushdown without the ability to turn and fight, and so we're actually going to be seeing a de-emphasization of that early neutral objective, and right now, it's actually Extinction trying to once again gain presence through that Tribush in the top lane to maybe kill the Ornn before making any other plays.
Yeah, they weren't successful last time, and now with the Call of the Forge God, it's going to be even harder to get on top of Yushiyoshi, but Extinction's going to try for it anyway here.
Extinction spending so much time up here, still not level 6, doesn't have the bolus available to try to root up Yushiyoshi either. It's just kind of a questionable call here by the Sejuani, spending so much time for really nothing. Krama isn't even able to get the same kind of CS lead that we're seeing in the bot lane. Yoey has actually had that gap closed on them just a little bit by Corey JJ. So credit to the Ezreal. Overall, it's actually the gold swinging back in favor of Dorado with this lull state.
Yeah, but look at this on the map here, with Extinction showing on the top side and with pressure seated in the bot lane. K-Peps, even though he's not level 6, is perfectly happy to walk up into this Drake pit and take the early Drake here. Now, with the bot lane roaming up, there's no real way for them to contest. They're just going to be too slow to get to it. So that's a free Drake given over to Dorado Iota here.
Yeah, and now Boulder's going to have to try to defend Yoey from not only the Grand Entrance, but also the Nature's Grasp. It looks like with the coverage coming from the Sejuani that Red Squad isn't going to try to push their luck any further, but really good proactive play there by Dorado Gaming, getting their power spikes before initiating that dragon. And now, not only do they have a lot of late game inevitability off of the ornaments and the fact that Tough Daddy is on Gangplank, but now you have this more mid-game oriented win condition as well, where you're trying to pressure for that early soul.
They do still have to be a little bit careful. Yoi is significantly ahead, and if they can find some pressure in this bot lane, they can start getting this Ashe to an unkillable state where he can shred through the Ornn and the Maokai very easily, rendering this team with no front line. But for now, Dorado, despite the early missteps, in a very, very good position. And CB Heist has to be wondering why they didn't do a better job of controlling this early game so far.
And as much as we're talking about Yoi on this Ashe, I'm still a little bit worried about the impact of this champion, especially given the fact that it's paired with AFK Boulder on this Milio. You have no real way to bait out the cleanse from Corey JJ early, even if you get the biggest Ultra Mega Fire kick of your lifetime. I just don't really see a means by which Dorado Gaming will find themselves hard-pressed to give up that summoner spell. Swain's roams are relatively telegraphed because you don't have any mobility. You have to take the full walk down there, and you don't want to leave Tough Daddy alone in the lane as well, because he has that global ultimate. He has the ability to free farm and scale like crazy, and it just kind of feels like you're talking about here, Alls. CB had their advantages. They did a good job controlling these lanes. That did not turn into game control, though, and I feel that they really got to make something happen pretty soon. Otherwise, they're going to find this game already slipping out of their grasp as the scaling gets more and more online for Red Team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to call attention to one other player who I think has kind of fumbled the bag a little bit here for Heist, and that is Extinction. Not because the ganks haven't gone well. The fact that he's ganking is perfectly fine, but the fact that they have all been on Krama here. One gank early to get the Gwen a little bit of breathing room, let her start scaling towards that Riftmaker is perfectly fine, but this is gank number 4 here that Extinction is going for, and is not going to even be able to get the stun off. Krama's going to scale perfectly fine anyway. Once this Gwen hits 2 items, she's going to dominate this lane regardless of what the Ornn does. So I would have much rather seen this time used to help Corrido keep Tough Daddy down, to help Yoi get to the point where maybe the Ashe is going to become too much of a problem, as much as we can have concerns about that. So I just think the target selection here has been a little bit misguided from the Sejuani.
Now, I do think that Krama on Gwen has gotten themselves a champion that has clear identifications of win condition on their forehead. You're able to immune the Nature's Grasp. You're able to immune Tough Daddy's ultimate. Those are all very, very valuable attributes for the Gwen, and her tank busting power means that Yushu Yoshi probably cannot solo keep the side lanes alive versus this champion, as we're seeing that needlework come out. Even so, Yushu Yoshi still not dying, and in fact, it's up 10 CS versus the Gwen. But like you're talking about, Alls, it's certainly a bit of overemphasization right now. You really have to hope that Corrido, Yoi, and Extinction will make something work as a group outside of the Gwen to actually allow for a split push game plan to come through.
Yeah, and we do see this slight focus from the camera on Tough Daddy here. Has the fully completed Essence Reaver, is halfway through a Cole on top of that. That's a ton of gold that's going into this pocket of the Gangplank, who's already about 400 gold up, courtesy of just the passive here. It's only going to get worse in this mid lane, and Tough Daddy on this Gangplank has apparently played quite well recently. I hear rumors that they got a pentakill on this champion just yesterday. So the timer is ticking for this CB Heist squad.
Rod of Ages on Corrido is an interesting selection for the Swain. It does provide a little bit of health. It does provide presence as well when you're going for a full drain tank angle. But I'm afraid that combined with the fact that you're having an Ashe in the 80 carry role, there's actually not going to be enough damage there for team fights, especially because I don't think the expectation is going to be for Krama to be there for 5v5s. Rather, they want to be knocking down these towers in the side lanes while the rest of the team busy themselves with distracting Dorado Gaming. Now, it may be the case that Gwen will actually have to group up a bit more.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Both TPs are available for this Drake fight, which will be coming up in about 10 seconds. I think it's pretty mandatory that CB Heist tries to fight this at least a little bit, because they can't afford to lose any more control. They can't afford to give this Dorado squad any more scaling opportunities, and we do see that's what they're doing. They're moving into the server. They're trying to get the vision and force K-Peps and 17 out to make it impossible to contest this. However, with Tough Daddy's ultimate being global, it's going to be very difficult to make this work without a fight.
You got to be careful. There's the cannon barrage. 17 going to activate the quickness, jump right into the fray. And here's the backup of the Nature's Grasp. Yowie going down early means there's no damage here available for CB. And now they're trying to get out, but they are pincered. They are knocked up and they are beaten down. Total domination in this early battle and an early ace for Dorado Gaming. A double-double on Corey JJ. And everything is coming up in favor of Red Squad.
The power spikes were hitting Yarko. Tough Daddy has the item on the gangplank. The Ezreal had the Triforce there. That is everything that you could not afford for CB. You needed to win this game before this point, and now we see the pressure is on everywhere. They got 5 kills. They're now up 4,500 gold. That's ridiculous at 14 minutes, and it's only going to get worse as they're chipping down very heavily on both this mid and bot turret. Those are going to be very soon to fall here. So it's only going to go from bad to worse for this Heist squad unless they can pull off a miracle here.
Yowie doesn't have ultimate, so I don't know if they're actually going to be able to keep Corey JJ or 17 in place. In fact, the tables may be turning, and it doesn't even look like K-Peps is needed. Now the Milio is all alone. There's the Bramble Smash, and now chalk up 4 kills for Corey JJ as Extinction walks in onto a crime scene. They're going to try to get something back, but only with the Radiant Virtue. They can't find a kill onto K-Peps, and 17 will even face tank that Sejuani ult.
Well, it never rains, but it pours, my friend. In the span of just 2 minutes, we've seen 7 kills, 2 turrets, and a now 7,000 gold lead at 15 minutes. You know, it's been a very long time since I've seen a game go as suddenly one-sided as this. And look at where the gold is. Yeah, it's 1,000 gold on Yoshi, but it's 2,000 gold on Tough Daddy. It's 2,300 gold on Corey JJ. Those major carries that if they could have been shut down, this CB Heist team would have been in good shape. But right now, with the way it is, there's just nothing left. The diamond is securely locked away in the vault, and Dorado looking to make a huge mark here in week 1.
Yeah, Dorado Gaming just need to walk this one home. They have inevitability with which to do it. Sure, they didn't secure that second Drake, but as I kind of alluded to earlier, it doesn't really matter. They are fine pushing this game out to the 30-minute mark. Tough Daddy, Yoshi only going to get stronger. Corey JJ is power spiking hard right now at 4 kills, and I'm just not really seeing the firepower on CB Heist's side to answer it back. So with that in mind, Dragon means nothing. I think this is going to be over before we see a soul.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if we're even going to get to the Baron point, because it feels like with the power we've got right now, Dorado Iota could just look to group his 5, Nayram this, and end the game before we can blink.
At the same time, it's going to be tough for them to take down towers quickly enough for us to see a game without a Baron. I think that probably what is on the horizon is going to be another ace initiated, this time by Dorado Gaming off of some kind of overextension by CB. Teleports are going to come in. You're going to have a much bigger fight snowball out of the control of Blue Squad. And from there, we're going to see the Baron picked up in probably about 3 to 4 minutes. So keep an eye out for that one for sure. I would be impressed to see this game get speedrun all the way down to like a 19-minute banger, right? That'd be very, very impressive. They are picking up Shelly now as well, so there is a tool by which to start knocking onto the towers, especially mid lane. But I imagine that this will actually be more used as a distraction in about a minute and a half to set up for a proper fight around the next dragon.
Well, we'll certainly have to see. That was a very thorough prediction there from you to lay out the case for the rest of this game. Who knows? You may be right on the money, or you may have caster cursed Dorado right into slipping up this game. We're going to have to see.
I feel that Throws and Blue Otter League together are the single most clear relationship in all of amateur league esports, you know? It's always a banger in the BOL. I would love to see something crazy come through out of this one. CB Heist has the ability to Baron steal, as is the case of so many of the comebacks that we see in Blue Otter. But perhaps this time around, this season, it's going to be a matter of flawless gameplay from one of these two teams. Dorado Gaming has the tools. Let's see whether or not they're going to be able to turn that into something.
Yeah, they're certainly looking for Tough Daddy here. Finally, Extinction looking at a lane other than Krama's as we see the Demonic Ascension pop. They're going in hard.
Yeah, Tough Daddy isn't getting out of this one alive. That's going to be the True Shot Barrage going wide as well, just to really seal the fate of a Red Squad. They're going to lose their mid laner, and while K-Pep's Desperation ults down mid to try to find something versus Yowie and company, All that matters is that Ghost gets popped, Ash walks it off, and while we do have the Rift Herald dropped with Sejuani running to catch up, now Red Squad is deep in enemy territory. There is a chance that they get collapsed upon. Corrido still on the flank angle.
Yeah, Yoshi does have the TP though, so they have to be careful of that call of the Forge God. 17 has got some great deep wards in there, so there could be a beautiful flank coming out if Dorado is intelligent about when they pull that trigger.
Good knockback. Extinction already incredibly low, and that is going to be the angle that 17 wants to capitalize off of. The quickness activate. Here's the call of the Forge God to follow up. Cannon Barrage whittling everybody low. 3-4 nothing, and Tough Daddy has his revenge.
Yeah, they might get Corrido here as well. The Swain has been swung back into the grave. A triple kill for the Ezreal. Yeah, the Gwen picks up a turret in topside, but she cannot split push fast enough. The push coming in the mid lane. The Maokai picking up a turret on the bot side of the map. Gangplank pushing in the bot as well. It just keeps getting worse for this CB squad.
This is perfect time to take down that inhibitor, set up a perfect map state for a damning Baron buff, and that will probably lead to the end of the game. It does look like for the time being, Red Squad don't want to push their luck without the Maokai there. They don't have quite enough presence to actually take the inhib, but fact of the matter is that is going to be a constant push into this lane, and I really don't see a way back into this for CB Heist, barring a massive misplay from the likes of Dorado Gaming, who so far are pretty darn clean with it. K-Peps going to initiate with the Nature's Grasp. Krama continuing to forge their way forward with the needlework charges. 17 able to get to safety off the back of the battle dance. Corey JJ is actually just going to provide suppressive fire as the entirety of Red Squad extracts themselves from enemy territory. And once again, CB come up empty-handed.
Yeah, Corey JJ doing so much damage with just the Triforce and the fully stacked Mana Mune there. Has 2,900 gold in pocket, so that's going to be transitioned straight into a Cyrilda's Grudge. This Ezreal with those Mystic Shots is going to get even more annoying here. Not only will they chunk out Yoi in just a handful of hits, they'll make it miserable the entire time. As Yoshi looking to collapse here, they want to turn this into a big fight.
Oh, the Forge God, and now it looks like Extinction is caught right in the middle of the artillery fire from Tough Daddy. Teleport in. This is going to be another full engage. 17 going to push forward with the quickness, and while the Sejuani goes down, we do finally get a kill back for CB Heist, but it is a very brief respite for them as it turns into a 2-for-1, as unfortunately Corrido goes down.
Yeah, sure, they get K-Peps, but this is a 9-1 Ezreal. This is a 11,000 gold lead at 21 minutes. This is 13-3, and a Baron looking to be taken here by this Dorado squad. It's just a consolation prize at this point, Nyarko. The kill does not matter.
Yep. And Yushu Yoshi is now basically an unkillable tank, able to wade into the fray, set up plays off of their back. I mean, that was them absorbing aggro from multiple members while we saw Dorado Gaming actually assemble mid lane. It just didn't matter. Yushu Yoshi persists, is eternal at 2-0-7 right now. And this is a living nightmare for CB Heist, down more than 10,000 gold. We're just waiting for the end of this game.
Yeah, this is rough, but the question remains, Nyarko, what does CB Heist change going into game 2? Yeah, there were some mechanical misplays here in micro decisions, but it feels like a lot of it was just that this team wasn't quite aware of how they needed to execute on the draft that they had created for themselves here. If they had played this better, they could have given themselves a good shot to come out of this game with a win.
Agreed. I think that the honest answer is they need to draft better. They have to understand that as an aggregate, yes, your team does damage, but so much of that is indexed into the form of the Gwen that we kind of saw Extinction forced to care about this champion early in a situation where they're up against Yushu Yoshi on the Ornn, which can simply sit back and fall behind if they so desire. And actually, that didn't even happen. We saw the Ornn with a CS lead after a certain point. So hopefully you can get something in the hands of Yoi that isn't as useless as an Ashe. And then from there, you can hopefully actually have damage being brought to these team fights. And then maybe you can have Krama go on an actual split push plan. Right now, things have fully fallen apart. None of these champions are really good for anti-siege, as we're seeing 17 yet again just Lakad a target, get a double root, and force the ultimate out of AFK Boulder. I mean, Tough Daddy's just going to work on Krama in the bot lane, and this really shows the power of Red Squad now that they are ahead. They have so much power on multiple champions. They're just walking scenes. Tough Daddy solos Krama, that one hope that we've been talking about on and off for CB Heist. This is a disaster. I don't even think Dorado is going to be able to get this done. Tough Daddy has the level advantage, has the cannon barrage still, and is just going to hop right on top of Swain and pop him like a balloon. Down go two, and I mean, Gangplank is still working on that inhibitor.
Yeah, I mean, even with all the resources burned on Krama, this Gangplank at 3 fully completed items, at 80 CS ahead of Dorado, is just too powerful. There is nothing that can be done. Completes the 4th item, immediately TPs back in. Nyarko, I do believe we may be seeing the beginning of the end here. It's nothing left but prayers for CB.
I mean, I think we're halfway through the final chapter at this point. Things are all falling apart, and CB Heist have virtually lost the game before it's fully over. This might be a bit of an overstay, but honestly, Dorado Gaming have so much damage, and look at the fact that they're, once again, just plying a war on 2 fronts. Yushu Yoshi may finally die. They get out from under the tower in time to give a quadra kill over to Tough Daddy, and now Dorado is left alone with the 2 Nexus turrets. Even they can't make it back to the fountain. They give an opening pentakill to Tough Daddy, and Dorado Gaming bulldoze CB Heist for game number 1.
Got one yesterday, gets one today. The Gangplank will never be allowed for this player again. 20-4, Nyarko, a 20,000 gold lead at 24 minutes. This is such an incredibly powerful statement to start this season. This is Dorado saying, we are the team to beat, and we are unbeatable.
Yep, and CB Heist now find themselves in a position where, I'll be honest, there wasn't a whole lot to learn from that game. There was no evolution to be had from the variables that were laid upon you once you entered onto the Rift. Therefore, all I can say is draft better, guys, and hopefully we'll see a better look from CB Heist in game number 2. But, I mean, Dorado just got a full head of steam, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. And the damage graphs tell so much of a story here. Tough Daddy, 26,000 damage. That's as much as Dorado and Krama combined. That is just one player on this team. And Corey JJ was no slouch either, sitting at 19,000. That's the 2nd most in the game. And this is not against a team that is tanky. There's a Sejuani, yeah, there's a Swain. But Gwen, Ash, Milio, these are not champions that take a lot of health to go down. So there's just so much pressure there. I think Heist has to chalk this up as a loss and take the learning experience moving forward. This may be one of the best teams in BOL Plat. So if they can at least make a bit of a statement in Game 2, say we're not going down without a little bit of a fight at least, they can at least keep a little bit of their sanity and a little bit of the respect from other teams moving forward. But it's an uphill battle. This game was rough.
Small flashes of brilliance, though, on CB Heist's side that give me faith that with a better draft, they're going to be able to navigate situations a bit better versus Dorado in game number 2. I mean, they definitely turned around a great play early. They were able to reinitiate with the Ashe, get them a kill early, and then if in a situation like that, we actually saw the Ornn fall in the simultaneous top lane gank, it could have just been all over, and Dorado may not have been able to come back. So a lot of variables are still at play. I'm excited to see what evolution will in fact look like coming out of CB Heist going into game number 2. I think it's best we throw it over to a quick break and we get on in for that second draft. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League. We are about to head into the second draft of the night in this inaugural game for the Platinum season. Dorado Gaming not only are on blue side, but they had a dominant game number one alls, and now CB Heist have to make some magic happen here in order to come back.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of work here for this Heist squad, not just because that game was so dominant, but because of the effect that a dominated game like that has on the mental of these players. It's so hard to come back from that unless you have great team cohesion and a great coach who can talk you down and bring you back to this series is winnable. We can still put our best foot forward here. So it's going to be interesting to see not only how this draft changes, but how well they can recover and play out the draft they're given by their coach.
CB beaten and battered. I don't want to keep hitting a dead horse and adding to that battering, but I gotta say, alls, that scouting that we did earlier certainly seems to show that there's some chinks in the armor regarding the mental of CB Heist. I mean, for some of these players, that last game was the third, the fourth, the eighth loss in a row that they've experienced as of late. And so hopefully they're warmed up, but I feel that that warm up has already come and gone. And now it's just the doldrums of trying to make something work versus a team that has already proven themselves to be some front runners here in the Platinum League.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we already see the bans changing here. The gangplank. No surprise that that has been taken out. I wouldn't be surprised if the Ezreal was taken off the board as well here by Heist. But that means that both the Xerath and the Yone would be untouched here. Those are two very powerful champions that being in Iota's hands would be incredibly dangerous and could just swing this game as badly as game one was swung.
Not a full adjustment coming out of the ban phase. It's going to be the Jarvan denied alongside that Gangplank and the Gragas. I think this is kind of a smart move. CB Heist, I honestly don't think need to knock out the Ezreal. What matters a lot more is removing Ornn from the pool in the second phase. So we'll see whether or not Dorado Gaming actually puts a little bit more priority, maybe shuffles around their selections to get an early top laner. But for the time being, they're starting out first pick on the Maokai.
Yeah, no reason not to, right? K-Peps looked great on it in game one. Yeah, there was the very rough gank in the bot lane in those first couple of minutes that let Yoey get the first kill, but after that, I mean, it didn't matter. They were able to get the early drakes, they were able to get pressure, they were able to get great engages with those Nature's Grasps and zone perfectly for their two carries. They did everything they needed to do, so there's absolutely no shame in picking this first and not tipping the hand at all here for CB Heist to draft around.
Isa going to be the response already. CB Heist with some adjustments that I am looking forward to. This is a champion that has far more presence in team fights and I think a little bit more damage to punch in than what we saw out of them in game number one when they locked in the Ashe. And there's a Nautilus for some more presence early on in this game, following up or at least setting up for Kai'Sa's Killer Instinct. Very, very excited to see what CB Heist are going to do to build off of these two picks.
Yeah, this is one of the best natural synergies in the game, of course, the stacks of those plasma being built up by Nautilus very, very easily to allow Kai'Sa to get that burst off very quickly and really dominate the bot lane, even when she doesn't have the attack speed to do it herself. Looks like Dorado's happy to go all in on this early fighting, though. Picking up the Lucian here, they want a very dominant early bot lane. They don't want to give Yoey any runway here to get this Kai'Sa ahead.
I'm interested to see what they're going to select alongside the Lucian. Lucian Nami, still a combo that people play, although its inherent synergy has been cut down time and time again. Alls. Honestly, be surprised to see it come out, and I'm very happy to see this, but simultaneously still surprised about it as well. A Taric of all things. Gonna be tough trying to get in there. I know that into a lot of these hook tanks, he's very good because they're able to charge your E and then just smack him down with the stun. And then because Nautilus doesn't do a lot of damage by themselves, if they're able to split the fight where then Lucian gets this 1v1 versus Kai'Sa, I do think that Blue Squad can make something happen here because Nautilus is going to kill the Taric. Taric is going to be constantly healing Lucian, and that'll be the difference maker versus something like the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind here is, of course, the fact that you can stack that Dazzle with the Relentless Pursuit, so Lucian can find some sneaky angles in here to really extend that range and get a sneaky stun onto the Kai'Sa. However, this early pickup and the fact that they didn't touch it does leave the Xerath open to be sniped away by Corrido, and this is far and away the most picked champion by this Heist mid laner. 26 games, the next highest champion on that list of champions played in solo queue, 7 games. So this is absolutely the most comfortable champion for Corrido, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they can be a little bit more effective than they were on the Swain in Game 1.
Now, you don't typically see Xerath in the mid lane even after their bump up the meta. I do think that it's probably still best as a support, but if you're a capable player able to hit your shots, there's no reason to see a Xerath respected, or rather not respected and opened up on. So we'll see whether or not Dorado Gaming maybe should have had some adjustments on their own picks and bans, especially as they move over to blue side. Xerath definitely going to be a presence in this game. Now, diving into the second phase of bans, that called shot looking for the Ornn knockout is not actually going to come through CB Heist, eliminating the Yone and the Silas from the pool to further pinch away at that mid laner who got out with a pentakill in game number 1. So while that makes a lot of sense, I still do think that the durability of Dorado Gaming's possible compositions, if they want to go for another tank in the top lane, needs to be something that CB Heist responds to, and I don't think Xerath Kaisa is going to be enough.
Yeah, absolutely not. Now, the downside to this is Grandma is not a player that has a whole lot of Ornn in their match history, so I'd be a little bit worried about sniping that away, and in fact, they're going to go ahead and give the Lilia over to Extinction here. I mean, this does have some good tank shred and some good sustained damage in teamfights to really stack alongside the Kaisa here. But I'm also a little bit concerned about this damage profile, because that's magic damage mixed with a focus on magic. That's not a lot of AD, so this Maokai, this Taric, they're going to be able to become unkillable very quickly here, even on a limited support budget.
Certainly a bit worried about how things are going to play out in this game. There's clear adjustments being made, but unfortunately, CB Heist still may be making too many missteps in this draft phase for
There's the
comfort.
Ornn.
Yep, there's the return to the Ornn. Now, obviously, Lilia is able to play the long game versus the champion, just prancing out of the Ornn's range and ultimate to hopefully whittle down their health bar. But this is still dragging out fights, a position that Taric loves to be in, that Maokai loves to be in, that the Lucian is perfectly comfortable being in, as long as the clearly delineated frontline that Dorado Gaming have got for themselves persists past the first few moments of the fight. You're able to get a problem child like Kaisa down early. You're able to weather the barrage of Xerath's ultimate off the back of, say, Taric's are. I really don't see a way that CB Heist are able to make the most of their response with this last pick. They're going to go Cassante, but still, I really do think Dorado Gaming are walking away with a dub in this draft phase yet again.
Absolutely. This draft just looks great for Iota. They've got such a great front to back, and then alongside that, they have the Echo. Yeah, the Xerath could be a problem, could be able to cut down this Lucian, but that's only if they're alive. The Echo going to be able to dive into the backline and eviscerate this champion, assuming they even get out of the lane phase, because Echo has so many tools to deal with the Xerath early. With the phase dive, will be able to dodge those stuns, those slows, and really get on top of the Ascendant here. I just think this is going to be miserable for CB Heist once again. Last draft, they at least gave themselves a bit of a chance, but in this draft, unless Dorado missteps, I think they're in a rough spot from the start.
Dorado has been proven to be mortal, though, at the same time, Alls. Remember, we did, in fact, see mistakes out of these players early on in that game number 1. A bit of over-aggression by the Maokai that turned into a victory for the Ashe, and almost 2 kills on the map to open things up in favor of CB Heist. They just couldn't quite get there versus the Ornn, as we mentioned before. So you clean things up on that front. You build upon what I think is still a markedly better draft for CB Heist in this game number 2 versus game number 1. And yeah, I think that we have some competition to be had in this next game.
Yeah, certainly. It is going to be close. There are chances for Heist, but I'm really feeling like it's going to be rough. That being said, if you'd like to avoid the mistakes that Heist made both in-game and in draft, you can turn to Blue Otter League sponsor. That is Coachify.gg, a great platform for esports coaches to connect with players who want to learn from them with zero commissions. Sign up completely free, and anybody can create a public profile. So go ahead, create a profile over on Coachify.gg and support Blue Otter League's lovely mission to keep this content rolling for all you guys. These fabulous games that we get to bring to you are thanks to those sponsors, so we want to show them all the love we can. Yarko, any last thoughts here as these teams look to move on to the Rift for what might be the final time here in Week 1?
I just want to say that CB Heist can bring us to a game number 3. They have the tools with which to do so. Now, maybe they are maybe not in the best of shape, a bit rusted here, a bit dulled there, versus what I think is pretty much top of the line for Dorado Gaming in regards to their draft. But I would love to see action. I would love to see them try to take this early on with some very aggressive angles off the back of the Nautilus, off the back of the Xerath. I want Sparks to fly. I want us to have the best introduction to the BOL Platinum Division as possible. And that comes in the form of a 3-game banger. We'll see you guys on the other side of this break. Super happy to be here. Super happy you guys are all watching. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Blue Otter League for game number 2 between Dorado Gaming and CB Gaming. I don't know what to say right now, Alls. I think that it's just a matter of hoping that CB is able to weather the storm early, get some good advantages off the back of some of these more aggressive selections that they've decided to go for, and simultaneously wishing that this late game does not come full steam off the back of Yushu, Yoshi, and 17. Loving the composition on Blue Squad side. CB has definitely improved on that front from game number 1. But the question is, will it be enough to stop a 2-0?
Hey, the biggest improvement of the series has already been hit. Boulder remembered to buy items before leaving base. So, I don't care what the rest of the series does. CB Heist has already improved game 1 to game 2 in my eyes.
That's definitely a good way to start us out because at this point, CB need any light to come at the end of the tunnel in this one. Crushing game number 1. Was it over a 20,000 gold lead in favor of Dorado at the end of it?
It was certainly pushing 20,000. I don't remember the exact number, but it felt like an infinite amount of gold. There was nothing that could have been done short of the Riot servers just imploding to turn that game around.
They were imploding earlier today, so perhaps that kind of outcome is more likely than you'd expect. Hopefully, we'll keep steady, more steady than my internet at the very least throughout this series. Moving into game number 2, we haven't had any hiccups so far. Now the question is going to be, what are we seeing in regards to first movers advantage between these two junglers? Where are we hoping to see them strike?
Well, it looks like both of them are going to be looking for that full clear. So this bot lane, which, as we mentioned in draft, is going to be so volatile, the Nautilus up against a Lucian Tark is going to be volatile. Both of these junglers are going to want to be there early, going to want to put a lot of pressure in to either trying to make Corey JJ relevant or making him completely useless. And it looks like it might be even easier for K-Peps, as if we look at those summoner spells on the right side of your screen, Yoi's already been forced to flash.
Yeah, actually not really sure how that happened, but good aggression there from Corey JJ and 17 to get themselves into full position early. I'm actually gonna put a little bit of a stopper on what you're saying in regards to how volatile this lane is. I think this lane is only as volatile as AFK Boulder wants it to be. If they want to hook in, go for it. But if they want to sit back, they want to stay outside of the range of influence of this Taric, I do think we're going to have a pretty passive 2v2 up until Extinction or K-Peps comes on in to muck things up, as it were.
Well, we'll have to see, but it looks like Extinction might have the fight coming to them. Already Vision being pushed in by 17 and Corey JJ, making use of that early pressure to get a great roam timer in and start tracking this Lilia early. They don't want any kind of funny business here in the early game.
Whoever engages first in this bot lane most likely loses the fight, unless it's K-Peps pressing R from pretty far away. That's how I view it. Extinction, if they jump in, if they go for their spin post level 6 and they try to put a Lilting Lullaby down, 17 will have the timer by which to press their own ultimate and then, for the most part, invulnerable the way through the sleep that's coming their way. If AFK Boulder wants to hook in, simultaneously 17 will be able to clap right back with a dazzle of their own. But if 17 burns something like E-Flash to hop on in, AFK Boulder can split the fight magnificently and put Corey into an awkward position. Now K-Peps hiding out of vision will emerge to make this a 3v3, and already Yoi's in trouble. AFK Boulder trying to get away, will be able to do so. Extinction covering the escape of the Nautilus, but that Kaisa being sent packing early and the kill going to Corey JJ is a rough start for CB.
Yeah, that was great there. K-Peps absolutely invisible, sneaking into that brush, sneaking forward. Great vision control by 17 there to keep that going. Fighting in the top side continues. Krama and Yushu both getting very, very low here, but they're tanks. Noodle fight continues. In the meantime, though, that early pressure, the early victories here in the bot lane, especially on a champion that takes advantage of small early victories like the Lucian, that's going to make this lane difficult. Yoi doesn't have the small advantages that they had in game 1 from that disastrous early gank, so they don't have anything to fall back on if this lane goes sour.
At the very least, AFK Boulder did buy Relic Shield on that spawn, so that does mean that they're hopefully going to be able to level up that support item in time to make their presence known across the map. I really do think that now, with Yoi going down once, you have to be careful with your roam timers, but you have to, at the same time, roam to make the most of CB Heist's early chances.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to see some early pressure on Tough Daddy here before the chrono break is available. As long as that Echo can't avoid being locked down, he's a little bit of an easier target once that phase shift is out of the way. So we're going to have to see, with the backs coming out, we do in fact have Boulder looking to rotate towards this mid lane. So we may have just cursed Tough Daddy into an ignominious death here early on before level 6 is hit.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Tough Daddy, while they don't have level 6, still are able to play pretty avoidantly. It isn't like Dorado has the most CC in the world, but AFK Boulder does bring it in spades. That was over-aggressive. Echo is going to die. I don't think that flash is worth it, as we're going to see Extinction try to follow up, and I may have spoken too soon. They at least pull the Summoner Spell out of Extinction before dying to the right of the Arcane.
Well, I apologize, Tough Daddy. I have cast or cursed Dorado one too many times. I will never stop hearing about it as long as I live. There are Dorado fans in every wall in the earth. But that does put Corrido in a good spot. An early kill here, some early gold, a chance to get a nice, cheaty little recall here with the wave in a good spot. No teleport, no matter. The Xerath out to the races a little bit here early on.
Yeah, this is, I think, exactly what CB Heist need, especially if Yowie is going to be reduced in power, shall we say, for a lot of this early game off of what I think was a good setup by K-Peps. Tough Daddy still is going to mobilize themselves to try to help a Dorado gaming team looking to grab themselves first dragon. But without 17 on their ultimate, this could be a tough fight for Blue Squad to take, honestly. As topside, we see the all-out activated, and now 17 immediately flashes on Yowie, gets the Ignite off as well, fully splitting that fight. Corrido has to flash back to safety. The Taric will not be able to get out, and now it's a double-double for Extinction. Now the question is, can we see any follow-up from Tough Daddy? The assassin getting exhausted, will have to ult back to safety, cannot land a killing blow onto the Kaisa in time. Corey JJ now trying to frontline as a Lucian, cleaning up. 2 kills back over to Dorado, restabilizing the bot side river as top lane Yushu Yoshi is forced to ult, and now Krama is going in under enemy tower. Yushu Yoshi, though, lands the killing blow, and
no.
Tough Daddy is now prowling for Corrido. Things once again going belly up for CB Heist. Corrido trying to hold on. Tough Daddy doesn't have the health anymore, and with the award, they can't hide inside a bush. Corrido making the hero play, keeping things even. Look at the gold, look at the kills, alls. What madness across the rift.
Good grief, Nyarko. A tale of disaster for both teams, and it is a single fault from both of them. It is getting too greedy. Yes, CB had a beautiful start to that fight. They were able to pick up 2 kills, but that was the time to end it. They didn't need to go back in. Yes, the health bars were low on Tough Daddy and Corey JJ, but the burst was still there, and they didn't respect it. They lost 2 members immediately, but then on the other side of the map, Krama, too aggressive, going in under the tower. Yes, Yoshi was low, but that's still an Ornn. There's still plenty of tank stats in that tank. It's very hard to kill that champion, and Krama paid for it with his life. And then, once again, because the record keeps spinning, Tough Daddy going in too deep, trying to find the pick onto Corrido, but without that phase dive, without the chrono shift, you cannot dodge the shocking orb, and you will pay for it. Now, though, Boulder in a little bit of trouble, trying too hard to ward, and with Tough Daddy on the roam, might just disappear here. Sentenced back to the depths he goes.
Yeah, that wasn't a little bit of trouble. That was basically throwing the game back in favor of Dorado. The much needed kill that Tough Daddy was searching so desperately for versus the Xerath is actually going to come from cleaning up versus the enemy support. Now they will have that little shot in the arm to get back to this lane, but first and foremost, they want to grab this dragon.
Yeah, Lilia's taking a while to get down to it. They may just feed this over. Yeah, it's not
Oh,
great to
no.
give it up, but it
Come
is
on.
just a Hex Tech.
I think that Krama's in a lot of trouble, even with the all-out. They probably can't get out of this one alive, and now down goes Corrido, the immobile mage, going to be hit by the Nature's Grasp. That's a dragon, that's a kill, and that really is feeling like heartbreak for CB Heist. Some shining bright spots as always, but unfortunately, they are eclipsed by Dorado Gaming, cleaning up around these neutral objectives.
Well, they certainly had a little bit of better planning in this one. The heist doesn't feel like it fell apart before they even got into the van, but it sure feels like the police response has been a little bit too strong. They don't have a way out of the bank vault just yet. But It's not over. They haven't been put in cuffs. It's still only 6-4 in Yarko. There's still only 1,000 gold lead. They can take this game and force a game 3 as long as they're intelligent about playing this out.
17 for the past few seconds now has been caught in that classic Tarek whirlwind of not having a wave to auto, so you can't get your abilities back up. And you had blown your E earlier, you had blown your W earlier. Now you're able to restabilize, try to find an aggressive angle in, but it just kind of feels like the cooldowns aren't there. Maybe a little bit of inexperience on this champion. Either way, Corey JJ just wants to get this wave crashed under the tower. They're going to use their culling with which to do so.
Yeah, it is unfortunate for Corey JJ. Despite the 2 kills, despite the half item lead already over Yoi, they haven't been able to amass a serious CS lead. They're only up about a wave here, which is not super meaningful. You would hope that with a pairing as aggressive as Lucian Tark, they would have completely dominated Yoi out of this game by now, especially with all the injections of gold that have been coming down to this bot laner.
I don't know. Tarek's a little bit difficult to dominate a lane on. AFK Boulder just simply has to sit back. Yoi doesn't even really have to give up waves because Tarek eventually will be too close to enemy tower to be able to make something of their position, especially versus the Nautilus. So it kind of makes sense that things have gone as they have so far, especially with K-Pep drawn across the rest of the map. But this is a great little roam there by the Tarek. Dorado forced to flash to safety, and I think it was worth Tough Daddy in 17 at least trying, although ultimately that is going to be summoner spells in favor of Red Squad.
Yeah, certainly it is 2 flashes blown, but the Echo still has ways around that with the Chrono Shift, with the phase dive, so I don't think this is horrendous here, especially if Dorado, who's low on mana here, can be re-ganked in the near future. More problematic, though, is Extinction, who has been caught out, will be locked up
again.
Time after time after time, and good grief, Lilia is venison now.
You know, I was talking about how I thought that vision control was going to be better for CB Heist this game, given the fact that AFK Boulder wasn't behind on leveling up their support item, but it still kind of seems like CB Extinction and the rest of CB actually are playing blind, walking up like that, just pretty irresponsible. And it's these free kills that are really turning the dial back in favor of Dorado Gaming. Coming off of that fracas in the bot side river prior to the first dragon being taken, we saw the gold lead perfectly even between these two teams, with CB clawing back after Tough Daddy. Come on, man. But
just a little bit of an oopsie there.
Yeah, I can't tell if they were looking for the reset anyway. Quite the mental game that they're playing, given that Dorado has the range to interrupt any of these resets. And because you spent so long in the lane, I believe that they actually were able to see where exactly Tough Daddy went off of the clear.
Oh no, Krama.
Yoshi just gets the kill off the Call of the Forge God. Sorry, I should have been talking about that. I didn't think Krama was going to be dying a second time like that. Awkward situation for sure. K-Pep's going to be covering this very aggressive push from Extinction in the bot lane. Here comes the ultimate. The Cosmic Radiance means the AFK Boulder is left out to dry by the rest of their team. They know they can't take a fight versus Tarek ultimate. And now, with a man down, CB just have to scamper back to their side of the map.
Yeah, they still have the right of the Arcane here, but with Extinction, no Lilting Lullaby, it's going to be very difficult to try and fight into this Infernal Drake. I think they're just going to have to give it up here if Dorado wants to take it. But in fact, it doesn't seem like they want to go ahead and set up and push deeper in, so they'll wait just a little bit and maybe cycle back in a few moments. 17 has done a great job all throughout this game of roaming around the map, getting wards down, whereas Boulder has been pretty well locked into this bot lane, unable to leave Yoi alone. So they have plenty of vision control, they have plenty of ability to control the map if they so choose.
It's just a little bit difficult for Dorado to immediately go for second dragon here. Not only was the timer a bit awkward for them, but also 17 being down Cosmic Radiance and a lot of their health means that one of your big frontliners is no longer able to be present in this fight to positively impact things for Corey JJ and company. But still, the solution is playing pretty aggressively. Yoi less than half health in an instant off of a single overstep. And I mean, we could just be seeing the full-on party down there for Dorado Gaming. They're bringing over the Echo, setting up for a tower dive.
Yeah, Dorado, no TP, no Ride of the Arcane, has no way to influence this fight. So it would be a 4-on-2, but it looks like instead they are going to pull the trigger on that Drake. Lilia on the top side has no way to contest, so CB has to start finding wins here somewhere on the map.
I just don't know where those are coming from. This Cassante basically useless at this point in the game. Yoshi going to be tanking better, going to be disrupting fights better, going to be scaling better. And while we do see Extinction come up here to try to cover, that is going to be a bit of a nombo between the Squirrel Seed and the All-Out. Yoshi just able to walk all this off. Here comes the Lilting Lullaby. They are going to be able to immune the CC with their Bellows Breath. Yoshi knows all the tricks in the book, and now they're sitting pretty under this tier 1 tower.
A beautiful job there, dodging out all the CC. A little bit too difficult to dive, especially with Tough Daddy roaming up here. So there's going to be no way for them to stop this. The TP is stopped. Are they going to go for extinction here?
Yoshi a little bit over aggressive in my opinion. The fight is now split. Krama doesn't have all out, but it doesn't matter. They will be able to pick up the kill. Tough Daddy can't get the assassination off, and now they're knocked back by the Intofo strikes. I think Krama is going to be able to just sit there under the tower and get to safety. Tough Daddy already has to ult. Extinction has the damage advantage so far in this fight, and Ryder, the Arcane, completely cleans house. That's what you need to see out of CB Heist. Exploitation of big mistakes from Dorado Gaming. They're still in this one.
Yeah, and that's a 600 gold shutdown onto the member who is already strongest. Despite a couple of early missteps from Dorado, they are still now 3-1-1. They have the fully completed Leandries. They have 1,200 gold in pocket, so they're not slouching right now. They've got plenty of power in the tank. This is the player that they have to build around here with Yowie so far behind, but as long as they keep feeding that gold, they'll be in good shape.
Yoshi apparently knows the limits of the champion far better than I cannot believe they teleported there, but because of the level advantage, because of the gold lead that Yoshi has secured, this Orin is able to just tank versus the two of them and send Yowie packing. I'm a little bit worried overall about the fact that we are seeing what I think is just the most slam dunk Merc Treads game of all time lead to cooldown boots on K-Peps, but we'll have to see whether or not that matters in the actual team fights that I think both teams are now gearing up for, as we do have a third dragon in less than 3 minutes. We also have a consideration of Baron to be made right after that. Big 5v5s will be defining the pace of this game going forward.
You know, I don't mind the cooldown boots as much here from K-Peps because this Maokai, like the Targ, is basically just a lockdown slave. As long as you can spam WQ in fights, you are doing your job. Doesn't matter if you can't soak quite as much damage because your job is to sit on the back lines and keep Corey JJ from ever feeling threatened. So I'm okay with it here, and as long as they can rotate those spells efficiently, they'll be in good shape.
In general, kind of a de-emphasization of boots so far in build paths going forward. Yoshi already on a smorgasbord build without even completing their boots. We'll have to see if they are in fact going to be going for the Merc Treads angle. As long as you have 1 Giga tank, I'm getting what you're saying though, Walls, and already Yoshi has already proven on this Orin that they're able to do that job.
Yeah, doing a great job so far at 2-1, have drawn a lot of pressure in both games so far, as this Dorado squad looking to go ahead, take this Rift Herald. They're just slowly cutting off the oxygen here. CB Heist has to find and force angles here because I don't think they have the scaling advantage.
Yep.
Yeah, they lose Corey JJ in the long term. The Lucian doesn't look great after about 4 items, but Echo looks great long term. Orin gives a lot of long term scalability to champions who would otherwise fall off. And of course, 17 with the ultimate. It doesn't matter how late the game goes. 2.5 seconds of total invulnerability is, bar none, the most fight-changing ability in the game.
And you talk about Corey JJ falling off. I don't think that there's a game state in which it's going to be the case that the solution is less powerful than the Kaisa. So just unfortunate. Yoey's starting to fall behind on CS. They haven't even accessed the kill yet, Alls. And 20 minutes into this one, all you need is 1 more Baron to put this away. We've seen how hard Dorado snowballs from ahead. And while the gold gap isn't that big right now, they have the ability to shot call and push and pull CB Heist across the map. They're the ones about to move towards Soul Point here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, now my one question to you as we start inching closer to this late game, Yoshi sitting just a few XP away from first ornament. Who does it get handed to here? Is it Tough Daddy, who has the most kills but also seems to like getting themselves into awkward situations, or is it Corey JJ, the standby who has been untouchable in this series?
It's a good question. I do think that right now ornaments onto some of the champions that are hitting their spikes the hardest makes a lot of sense. So either Tough Daddy or Corey JJ is justifiable. I would personally give it to the Lucian. I think that, especially now that they have the QSS available, it's going to be harder for CB to focus them down, particularly because I don't think 17 is taking their tether off of their AD carry during a lot of these team fights. So that long-term sustainability means you're going to be constantly re-accessing value from those Nobori quick blades. Very, very excited to see what they can do with the constant level up that Yushi is going to be providing. Corito's in a lot of trouble, actually. Tough Daddy getting that 1v1 that they so desire, finally flashed out of the Xerath, but it isn't like they softened up the Echo enough to actually lead to a Rite of the Arcane. And now look at this, blind over the wall. We see the Maokai ultimate, and we see Corey JJ's impact picking up a kill versus Yoey. AFK Boulder also going down, and now Extinction cowering under the tier 2 tower is trying to deal with Capex bearing down on their location. It looks like with Corito providing covering fire, Maokai is going to have to make a run for it. Now they're split from the rest of the team, so this could be more chaotic than first expected. The Maokai still able to zoom out of there, and now Krama trying to provide a little bit of a defensive measure, a little bit of CC to make the most of the Rite of the Arcane. Still can't kill K-Paps, and now Tough Daddy has killed the overextended Extinction, who's desperate to land the last hit versus the Maokai.
The damage and burst just too much from this squad. Yoey basically a cannon minion at this point. Corito cannot run. 17 does such a great job of locking out all of the tanks from that fight, distracting everyone so that the backliners could do all the damage they needed to do. It's just disastrous here, and now with 3 Drakes taken with just 5 minutes until this Chemtech Soul, it's going to be even harder to take out these members. And as you saw in that fight, yeah, K-Pax has the cooldown boots, doesn't have the completed Radiant Virtue yet, but they can tank a whole lot of damage, courtesy of that sap magic, courtesy of the innate resistances. They're doing just fine on the front lines.
Soul point, maybe not the most powerful, but honestly, think about the period of time in which Yushu Yoshi and K-Peps can find themselves in the health danger zone, particularly with 17. I think that the passive buff may be the best that you can ask for, and while, yeah, I would still prefer Mount, I'd still prefer Infernal, there's a lot that can be done with the fact that the Dragon stacking is so favorable for Blue Squad right now. That gold is also starting to get out of hand. I'm unfortunately going to have to say it all. Right now, this is looking like a pretty clean 2-0 to start off the season for the side of Dorado gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, this game was better for Heist. Was this game good for Heist? No, not under any circumstances. This was an absolute dismantling, but they improved game 1 to game 2. They showed what they needed to do. They made better use of the missteps of this Dorado squad, so they can walk out of this with their heads held at least a fraction higher than it would have been if game 2 had gone just like the first game.
Yep, definitely the case that while we do see adjustments, it's still not quite enough to get victory. But if we do assume, and I think it's rightfully so, that Dorado Gaming is the best team right now in the BOL Platinum division for the season, still definitely not painful to see how competitive an early game CB Heist had against them. Maybe they're going for that number 2 slot, looking to scale up later on into the season.
Yeah, gonna be difficult to scale any further in this game when the Baron is being taken, at least immediate reactions from Boulder and Yoey, but they are outnumbered and might just be outgunned here. Yarko, I think this might be the fight that decides the game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that AFK Boulder had to burn that flash to try to get out of the initial engage. Nobody expected the Flinky Sploinky, and now it's not only the Nautilus dead, but the Kaisa as well. The bot lane has been well and truly shut down, and I think this is enough of an opportunity for Blue Squad to get themselves that much-needed Baron Nashor to start putting this game away.
Yeah, however, Extinction is still live. They could look for some kind of steal if Tough Daddy cannot clear them out. He is alone 1v3 here, forced to use that Chrono Break a little bit early.
Still doesn't matter, though. Rite of the Arcane is going to do very little here to actually make a splash versus Dorado Gaming. And Tough Daddy, yeah, may have had to ult a little bit early, but the fact of the matter is they get out, and they're ready to go for round number 2. Corey JJ, still nearly full health, obliterate Xerath in an instant, and even 17 going low doesn't really matter. This Lucian is opening up on everybody. Give a triple kill to the bot lane. Get everybody fed over the course of these 2 games. Dorado Gaming making sure everybody's eating good tonight.
Good grief. Corey JJ 8-0-3 right now. Only died once in the previous game. This is an ADC that knows how to position and knows how to make great use of their champ's abilities. I'm very impressed. This is not the level of play I would be expecting out of a Plat League ADC.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like anybody's actually plat in this lobby, not gonna lie, all. So perhaps we gotta change the title of this league. It's quite the rogues gallery of rankings, but yeah, as you're kind of noting here, it really does kind of feel like everybody is playing, scaling up from the previous time in BOL. Very happy to see how strong our competitors are in this dubiously named Platinum League.
Yeah, the Emerald League, let's call it. That sounds a bit closer. Either way here, it's a minute until Soul. Complete control of this bot side is in the hands of Dorado. They have vision everywhere. Their members roaming this jungle with impunity. Boulder, Yoey, and Extinction are going to be in trouble.
Ooh, this is going to be a rough one for sure. I mean, that's already the Nautilus gone. I think that now it's just a matter of trying to damage control and not lose the game right here, right now. Yoey, though, having to hop that wall, will just find themselves face to face with the Echo. Down goes the 3-3 tower. And this could just be over. I mean, we still have Cosmic Radiance available for 17 to push even deeper. They have a cannon minion at their back alongside some mega tanks. And while Krama is able to walk things off, move back towards the base, fact of the matter is, it is going to be a 2v5. And still, the Cassante has no real presence, no kill pressure, no damage. Corrido too walled out to do anything, even with that Xerath range.
Yeah, at the very least, Dorado is going to be able to take this mid inhibitor here, make it impossible for CB Heist to contest this fourth Drake. Soul should be a formality at this point. And, well, I'd love to see some kind of Elder Drake shenanigans to save this game for CB. I don't think it's possible. I don't think this game is going to make it to that Elder buff spawning.
Yeah, certainly the case. I do believe that right now, it's just a matter of Dorado Gaming easing off the gas, giving a bit too much of an opening by not just trying to push for the end there and then, given the fact, like I said before, that you have all that invincibility from 17. But I also understand that perhaps it's going to take another Baron buff. You don't want to give the chance for CB Heist to get back into this one.
That was unnecessary. That was just overhunting here. At some point, the government's going to have to step in, say deer is an endangered species. 2 and 6 now is Extinction. A 10th kill on Corey JJ. 3 fully completed items. 2,100 gold in the tank, Nyarko. Yeah, sure. Dorado let off the gas there, but I'm pretty sure the car is already barreling down at fatal speed.
And this final lane with an outer tower. Actually, I think the one top side is still alive, but
yeah,
this
is still alive.
This is just crushing. It's just, once again, a matter of Dorado Gaming deciding this game far earlier than its actual outcome. Now, while the overall timeline is a bit stretched for this game number 1, I don't think that CB Heist are any more comfortable at a spot. More than 11,000 now in favor of Dorado Gaming. I think it basically spells complete and utter doom. It's just a matter of how quickly does Red Squad want to give up the Ghost with an aggressive play.
Yeah, the gold lead isn't as extended as it was with the Gangplank. Obviously, no money printer, no going burr this time. However, it's still over 10,000 gold. It's still a 15 kill lead. It's still 4 Drakes to none. Nyarko, this is, for lack of a better word, it is miserable to be the losing team here because there is just no hope, especially against the Dorado team that has already closed out a game very cleanly against you just a few moments ago.
17 and Yusu Yoshi are deep in enemy territory right now, just cleaning out any vision that is being dropped their way, while Corey JJ is accompanying a super minion wave down into the mid lane. I actually kind of like the ARAM game plan right now because it would take so long to besiege the top and bottom turrets without a Baron on the horizon for at least another minute. You might as well just ensure that if CB oversteps even one time there in mid, this game is just over. Like I said before, a lot of tools in the arsenal of Dorado Gaming have yet to been accessed in the past few moments, and that means that it's just pretty much unstoppable wave. I don't think these Nexus turrets will be able to save Red Squad.
No, absolutely not. The 3-1 in full force here as Corey JJ nearly just deletes Yoey. That health bar blinking red as Krama wants to try and find something. They have found their doom. Cassante does not have any tank stats, it feels like, as Corey JJ just happy to shred through this team like a hot knife through butter.
I mean, this is the 80 carry dream. Eventually, we will see Corey JJ exhausted and shut down, but it's too little too late. Tough Daddy is leading the charge onto those two Nexus turrets, and while Right of the Arcane is softening up Yushu Yoshi, they're only able to get the Ornn below half health, nowhere close to death as down goes Extinction. What a painful way to go out of this series. CB Heist are unfortunately facing down an 0-2 start to their season as Dorado Gaming lock themselves in as a top contender here in the BOL Platinum division.
Yeah, first game of the season, and the cops are already on to the highest floors. Couldn't go any worse, but at the very least, the worst matchup of the season may already be behind you. Just a few more kills to pad the stats here, it looks like. Trying to go for Dorado, who popped from 1100 health. The Nexus does fall, but Nyarko, what a way to start this season. Two absolutely stunning matches from Dorado Iota here.
Yeah, I really liked how Dorado Gaming, even in the face of a few inevitable mistakes that comes from the territory of, not being Masters Plus players, were able to just dominate. I really do think that they knew exactly when to push the button, say go, versus CB Heist. There were many times where I think their understanding of their champions just kind of outdid everything else. Ornn, in the hands of Yushu Yoshi, went so deep so many times and emerged unscathed, almost deathless throughout the entire series. I think they dropped to 1 here. Yeah, 4, 1, and 10 on the champion, but it's just impressive stuff. And look at those damage charts.
It's it's unreal. I mean, great job by Corrido here, holding down the fort for CB Heist. 27,000, definitely up there with Corey JJ, but it's not enough when that's all you have. When your tank on the enemy team is out damaging everyone, it's just so miserable. There was nothing that this CB team could do to stop the slow, inevitable roll after about the 10-minute mark, because they had a much better early game. They gave themselves the shots, but they weren't able to make them land.
Heartbreak, but there's so much more League of Legends to be played throughout the course of the BOL Platinum Division. We are just getting started here, Alls, and so therefore I'm looking forward to the CB Heist scaling game plan that while they were unable to enact here, they're going to look to enact throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is plenty of time. There are many teams left to face, so we can certainly see better play in the future for CB Heist. All hope is not lost. They'll certainly have another bite at the apple here, and perhaps another chance to take this Dorado team back, and potentially, well, after this week it may seem like a stretch. Hey, a few weeks from now, they might look completely different, and they might be able to take a win off these guys.
All right. Well, I think that is it for us tonight. Shout outs once again to our sponsors. Make sure to check out Coachify.gg. Great supporters here of BOL in the amateur season and scene in particular. I mean, you saw them almost make it all the way to the promotion tournaments off the back of a single NACL qualifier run. That is unprecedented, and they honestly look so, so good all the way up until that grand finals. So check out everything that they're doing. They're making a big splash. We also got Glitch Energy, the lovely little Fox logo that unfortunately lives in my nightmares because of Ioki. But, credit to them for supporting League of Legends esports all the while.
Yeah, absolutely great. We love having the sponsors because they're the folks that let us be here, be the face of BOL, and bring great content to you guys. So, of course, go out, support them, support us, and support BOL. We love to have you guys around. We do this for the lovely, lovely community. And we've got plenty of weeks of action left, so go ahead, hit that follow button so you can be notified every time BOL comes live with all of our various leagues. We got Masters, Plat, Diamond, Gold, IBS. There's action just about every day of the week if you want to tune into this channel. So, we'll see you guys next time.